recording. Go. You can start.
Good evening. Welcome to the Mom to Mom Show, brought to you live by ECRC and Martoma Productions. We're live via Zoom, and we've got Father Pierre with us. Welcome, Father Pierre, and Alana Bahoura. She's a teacher
Hello.
at Our Lady of Sorrows. Hello, welcome. And then Reva Sharrak, who is the owner of Lace Boutique. And of course, Patrice from ECRC. We're here to talk about what would be the new normal post-COVID-19. And so panel, welcome. And to all of our viewers, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. We hope we'll be able to answer them for you today. And thank you for tuning in. Father Pierre, I think I'll start with you.
I would follow the Facebook live stream, but I'm not a Kellyan mom, so I wasn't welcomed. I feel abandoned. It's not fair. It's rude.
You planned that comment, Father Pierre.
They should make an exception for you. They should make
Please, honestly, please don't. I have no desire to be in that.
You could be a good referee. I think some things would change if you actually did. Although I don't know if we are live, Patrice.
We are.
I'm
live.
checking on my
It
phone.
says that at the top. Hi, everyone.
But it's like frozen. That's this
I don't know.
Well, we're being recorded.
saying we are live.
It's okay. Okay, so we're live. Father Pierre, now that Mass is going to start, what are we to expect coming in? What's going to be different?
So we're still trying to figure all the details out for the Kellyan Church, how we're going to reopen and kind of start that process. The Archdiocese of Detroit, which we are in conjunction with as far as relationship and communication, they started public masses today as an option, and they'll start like mandatory come the weekend of the 31st. And we had already planned with the bishop's directives, Bishop Francis, to start masses, public masses on the 31st, that Sunday, that weekend really. So each parish will have their own responsibility to stagger, to limit numbers. It'll more than likely be off of the capacity, the legal fire code capacity of the parish, to be like 25% of the capacity, whatever the ruling we end up following. And then each parish they might have to add masses. They might have to just first come first serve. I don't think ticketing system will work. If you do want to get into the front pew and you want to slip me a 20, I can get you in early. So, joking, but well, we could. I don't know how it's going to work practically. I think
that would be in addition to the collection, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
It'll balance out the collection. That's real.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tough.
So how about when people are going to go up to get the Eucharist? How are you planning on doing that?
Yeah, so this past Sunday, we distributed the Eucharist at almost all the parishes, I think. And it was in the parking lot. It was after the streamed masses. And I know I was talking to Holy Cross, Mother of God, St. Thomas, St. Joseph, St. George, Holy Mary. I was talking to all the priests really, and it was very smooth. People were very responsive and respecting of the Eucharist, and it was reverent as much as we could have been. So the directives is Eucharist on the hand, if you prefer, and then if on the tongue, if you prefer. If the communion, if my hand touches any part of your body, I pause, sanitize, and then go back to the Ciboria and to the rest of the communion. So it was as safe as possible. Is there ever a way to make it 100% foolproof? Like nothing is. Meyer isn't. So, but we're doing our best to make people feel comfortable. But obligation for mass attendance will be dispensed up through August, more than likely September, to give people peace of mind. Like, you don't have to come. You're welcome to come and worship Jesus, and you can continue to live stream and watch that way. But we want people to feel comfortable as well as protect the community. We're trying to find that balance, so we're working toward it.
Yep. No, it's exciting that we're at least able to go. And I think you made a good point. If somebody feels comfortable to go, if I'm willing to take the risk, I'm happy that at least have the opportunity to go and to worship. And Alana, I want to talk to you a little bit about going back to school. You're a teacher at Our Lady of Sorrows.
Yeah.
I know from our conversation earlier, you said they don't really have a plan in motion yet for fall. But in your opinion, what do you think the parents, what do you see happening in the fall for parents coming back to school and the kids coming back to school?
Yeah, it's really hard to say, and I think that goes for a lot of things right now in the world. It's hard to plan out so far in advance, and I think that for us specifically, what we're kind of gearing towards is putting our online curriculum within the school. So we're already putting together expectations for students and parents. We're discussing what we're going to expect from everybody, kind of putting more of a plan together than we already have right now, especially since we kind of jumped into this online learning since we had no choice. Mm-hmm. So if we were to be in person in the fall, if we were to start the school year off right away in person like normal, then we would incorporate the online learning, the codes, the websites. We'd kind of give everybody that information right away so everybody has it. And then let's just say down the line throughout the year, we just have to jump back into quarantine. Then all the students they'd already be transitioned into an online virtual type learning. Because, I teach fifth grade, and the fourth graders coming to fifth grade are doing different things than we're doing right now. So they're going to have to get used to for something like Google Classroom, because the middle school is doing Google Classroom, lower school is doing more of our own system website, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. So the fourth graders coming in, they're going to have an adjustment period of learning a whole new website, a whole new type of along with the changes that they come in with fifth grade, right? So it's not just the adjustment of online and classroom learning, it's the adjustment of a whole new grade level, a whole new teacher, sometimes different classmates. So it'll be very interesting, a little scary, but just like how we're getting through this, we'll have to do what we can at that time too.
How have the last 2 months been for you teaching online? I'd imagine difficult, but.
Yes, it's been very difficult. The beginning was of course way more challenging for teachers, for parents, for the students especially. People have gotten used to it. I'm on Zoom with my students all the time. Yesterday I was with them and I was like, so what's going on? Like, how are you guys feeling with all of this? Some of them were like, oh, I'm used to it now. It is what it is. Others are like, I'm over it. Others were like, I need to leave my bedroom. Like, there's like, I need to go downstairs. So I think it's hard as a teacher, I will say, and speaking for, I would say all teachers, that we're putting in, teaching is already a lot of work and no complaints there. We know what we signed up for, but going online, I'm putting 10 to 15, if not more hours a day. Wow. And I'm not sleeping till like middle of the night, maybe past that. It's never ending. Every time I go downstairs and I'll hang out with my parents for a little bit, my dad will be like, are you done? I'm like, Dad, let me just tell you, there's no such thing as being done. There's always something more to plan.
I think that goes for everybody that's working from home. I'm working from home. I'm not a teacher, but there's just no end. And I reached a point where I just said, I have to sign off and walk away from that computer. Just because it's an all day thing.
Yeah. And I think
how
that's
are the parents
part.
Adjusting?
Well, and the parents are adjusting. I'm trying to think of like all the parents that I've talked to over the last few months. Some better than others. I think the parents that have a few more kids, it's a little bit, it's definitely more challenging, different grade levels, different academic abilities. I think even with 1 or 2 kids, I still think it's still challenging for them. I have a lot more sympathy for parents that are working at home, just like you're mentioning, Lisa. If you had little kids running around while you're working at home, and I know Patrice could probably, attest to this. I don't know how people do it. I know teacher friends that are teachers working at home and then also homeschooling their own kids that, in different grade levels.
So I think that's going to be a concern if we're going into fall, and if there isn't going to be a school, if kids are going to have to learn from home, I don't know how the parents are going to be able to handle that if you're a working mom or, if your dad goes to work.
Because not every profession has the option to work from home. What about that are like a doctor or a dentist or a police officer or a journalist or, like Reva, she works in a small business. But I mean, like if it's an office job, sure. If it's something where you can work remote, but not everybody has that luxury.
But that's the thing is when you're working from home, you're working. You're working, to have to stop and then to go teach your kids, especially if your kids are in a private school and you're paying tuition. I'd imagine a lot of parents are concerned with having to pay a tuition, but then to stop what they're doing to teach their children.
Yeah. So I think that, to speak on that a little bit, every school has its own curriculum. Every school has its own, academic strengths and weaknesses, and they offer different things. So it's one of those things where my thought process, and I'm not a parent, I should probably say that I'm a teacher, but I'm not a parent. But I think that, let's just say this happens for the first 3 months of school. And I know, people have financial instabilities and whatnot, and it's hard to plan that. Okay, but what happens when we go back? And what happens if you don't have a good experience at the school that you switched to? And so then you put your kid back into the school you had. And if you're going to go from Catholic back to public and then back to Catholic, or just stay in public, that's traumatizing for the student. And I understand, again, we're going with financial issues, but when you look at the student's emotional, mental, physical health, that, and I will tell you, it will be traumatizing.
Yeah.
So changing,
that's not an easy transition.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's already traumatizing because of what's happening in the world. I've had students that have hard time sleeping at night, and it has nothing to do with the work. It has nothing to do with school. It has to do with just like what's going on in the world right now. And I yesterday when I was on Zoom with them, I talked to them about this, and I'm a religion teacher, so we talk about like, why do you guys think this is happening? Is God mad? And they're like, no, it's because of sin. It's because of like, all of these things that are happening in the world, the world is just in disharmony with God. And if I can get them to understand that even a little bit, so they can have a little ease of what's going on, then at least I have as a teacher, I feel a little bit better for them, so much to think about for the future.
Yeah. It's a lot for a child to understand and to have to grasp, and then let alone having to switch schools or get used to a new curriculum. It's a lot. I did want to talk to Reva. Reva, thank you for waiting there. You're a business owner, and you have actually been closed down for 2 months now. Can you tell us what it's been like for you being closed for 2 months? I know you didn't open until just before Mother's Day.
And that's just for curbside, so people can't really enter the store. It was just more selling on Facebook, on Instagram, people calling, clients needed pickups. So we've been closed for a while, and the bills don't stop, rent doesn't stop.
Right.
We were at full inventory because we were heading into bridal season and communion season. So all the communion dresses were ordered. I have 100 of them hanging in my store. They're hanging up all over because people can't come pick them up or haven't been able to yet. So there's a lot of money sitting in the store that can't rotate, can't move, because I wouldn't do that to my vendors. I didn't stop any orders. Some of them are working with us on terms. But yeah, we're just trying to keep processing whatever we can just to keep everything going so we can float until hopefully we can open up in the next week or so.
Reva, it has to be frustrating when you drive by Costco and Target and Myers and Walmart and Sam's Club, and there's lines to get in, and the government is trusting them to take all the necessary precautions. But a small business owner like you that really can't afford to stay closed can't open up for business, even if you were to follow the necessary precautions. What are your thoughts on that?
In the beginning, I understood. I was playing safe, flatten the curve. I was all about it. I stayed home. I didn't interact with my family and friends. I have an elderly father. We did everything that we could do. But as time went on, the curve flattened, the hospitals are empty. And then, I see these big businesses booming and having the choice to open with thousands of people a day, thousands. But I have a 2,500 square foot store, and I'm not allowed to have one person in my store. I probably can clean just as well, if not better, than most of, their basic employees. An owner takes a different pride in their own business. And we take care of everything. We clean everything. We have masks. I've actually been selling masks this entire time. We donated thousands of masks to the hospitals. So I've understood the precaution that has to be taken. And yet like people are asking me, we want to pick up our communion dress, but she wants to try it on first. And I can't let them in. And it hurts. It hurts to like, these kids were so excited. They were so excited for their dress to come in. We had, you know, hour or 2 hour appointments with each of them. We put their names on their hangers and did all this cute stuff. So we'd see the excitement when they come in with their little, you know, we set it all up, and I'm having to put it in a plastic bag and hand it to a car. You know, I feel really bad.
What are some of the things you were saying, Reva, earlier off air, that you were in some small business groups? What are some of the things some of the other businesses are saying, or the other owners and stuff?
So there's a lot of fear. They expect that about 1/3 of small businesses, so mom and pop shops, are going to close down after this. Some have already shut down. So if you guys have looked around town, there are lease signs up, for sale signs. They've already shut down. They've already announced that they just can't float that long. It would just put them in debt, and they didn't have the money to move forward. You keep hearing about all these businesses getting hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not going to the small mom and pops. It really isn't. And there's a lot of strings attached with the money that's coming to you. So you have to be very careful when you're accepting anything. They gave me some PPP money, but it's not forgiven because I can't open, and they'll only forgive it if I'm paying employees now, but I can't hire any employees because I'm not open. So it's
how about the employees that are not coming back to work because they're collecting more from unemployment?
So a number of my friends, from dealerships to import businesses, they've called back their employees because business picked back up, and the employees told them, with the extra $600, I make more than I've ever made, and I don't want to come back. And the problem with that is they extended.
It's so sad to hear that.
Yeah.
It's very disturbing, because if you want businesses to survive, you're going to have to take that away. It's more than people made before this for a lot of people. So it really isn't fair for us to, you know how hard it is already to hire in retail, let alone.
But I did hear today that the federal government did put a rule out that if they offer you your job back and you don't take it, it disqualifies you from unemployment. So I don't know if it's a rumor or.
It's on when you file for unemployment. It's a question they actually ask. Have you been offered a job and refused it? And most people are going to continue to click no.
No.
Because then the employer will have to fight each one of those cases. But I know employers who are definitely fighting it. I had one guy, he's a company, and he said, any employee that I've offered a job to, I will report them to unemployment because I just can't do it by myself.
Yeah. It's just sad to see that employees don't have a loyalty to their employer or to a business that's been there for you when you've needed a job, that you won't be there for them when they need you back because of $600 more. That's not going to last forever.
No. And
when is it through? Is it through July or through August?
July like 25th.
Is it through July?
So there was the talks, and I think it already passed, that it can extend longer than that. So depending on what happens, that may be extended. If that's even until July, what is everybody supposed to do without any employees?
Yeah.
Till then.
So I have Madonna Stefan just commented, so frustrating to give the extra, and I apologize, I'm looking at my phone, to give the extra $600 there, making more at home than RNs working on the front lines. And that's something I think that really needs to be reevaluated by the government.
Yeah.
Because
but Lisa,
even medical workers are losing jobs.
Ms. Bahoura is an amazing teacher.
Yes.
More comments.
Oh, okay.
We're getting more comments about Ms. Bahoura and how great she is.
Ms. Bahoura.
She is.
I love you.
She is, but ask us questions too.
Yes.
Ms. Bahoura is great, but I did want to ask.
Yeah, right.
What happens in the fall? Father Pierre, question for you. What's going to happen with communions?
If you didn't want to be interviewed,
I'm past that point. My
Here's the problem.
Here.
Okay. Listen, Brady Bunch, relax. So we have there's a lot of opinions out there, right? And the bishop has been very clear and careful to not be like, this is the rule. Like, obviously, when like kind of suspending public masses, there had to be a universal rule. How we're going to be open, 25% fine. How you're going to do that and clean a church, just like pastors take care of your own stuff. So I have my opinion on how First Communion should go, but I'm just one voice. But I think we need to just probably come to the realization that I'm at Holy Cross. We're about 20 kids. Like having 20 kids with their family, immediate parents and siblings only would be like 400 people, 300 people. So if they're about their grandparents, about their aunts and uncles, about their cousins, there's just no physical way to do all of them. So you either do like one at a time, or you do 3. There's a lot of options out there. I think we're just being hesitant to even go forward with that because we're scared of, like not making people have the experience they want to have. But I think we have to get over that. I talked to a bride today whose wedding is this summer, and she was like, what should I do? And I kind of like walked her through it. And she's like, if I delay my wedding another year, because I want a beautiful wedding, I am more than likely delaying or even not going to have another child because it delays me another year. She like walked herself through that. So I'm like, so do you want my advice? Do you just want a sounding board? She's like, sounds good. Like, she's like get married, like start your life. You don't have a wedding dress. Like, you're part of the COVID generation. It's not like it's a snow day or like there's a death in the family. We can kind of just move on after 40 days. Like, this is what it's going to be for the next 18, 24, 36 months. It's just going to be a lot of change, and it's going to have to slowly grow back up to confidence and comfortable. So same with First Communion, same with schools, same with businesses, same with churches, same with liquor stores. I mean, it's going to take some time before this thing keeps rolling.
It's just tough. Like, I was talking to a bride this afternoon actually, and she's like probably on the same boat. We were talking about the same thing of like, I don't want to postpone because of all these other things, and very faithful. She's like, it's about the sacrament, not about the wedding. But there's also that part, and I'm sure the communion moms will relate to this too, about it's like a once in a lifetime thing. It's like the one and only wedding, the one and only communion. It's like such a thing. It's a thing you look forward to. Graduations, all these seniors graduating, 8th grade graduations, even on a smaller scale, college graduations. And for them to have these things they've worked for and looked forward to for so long, in a way, be taken away. It's like, it's easy for us on the outside to say, oh, well, move on, or just have a smaller wedding, or just postpone.
I feel for anybody that's put in this position. I don't want to judge. I don't know what I would do if I was put in that situation. It's not easy, but I think everybody just has to do what they feel comfortable with. And I feel like even moving forward, it's going to become the new normal. Everybody has their own comfort level. So I might want to go on a vacation sooner than Patrice might want to go on a vacation. I think everybody's going to move at their own pace.
She's just ready to go. We're ready to go. We're going to
We had a
ready to go
for today, actually.
If you're ready to go, I'm ready to go too.
No, I get it. Yeah.
I heard from one bride's sister that told me, I thought this was the best attitude. She's getting married she's having her ceremony. She's postponing the reception till next year. And she said, if she has a baby, then she will have the baddest baptism party you've ever seen.
Wedding / baptism.
That's a great, she's turning into something happy no matter what.
Yeah, life goes on.
I've seen some amazing baby demos, let me tell you.
Yeah.
At those baptisms.
Question I wanted to ask you, Father Pierre, when all of this started, everybody was hitting the grocery stores. Everybody was buying all of the paper towel, the bathroom tissue. We were running out of Lysol. People were just going nuts, like hoarding. And I saw it, in the grocery stores, people just loading up like I've got to get this because it's not going to be available. And it's like, never mind the next person who's not going to have it. And this person is struggling just like you are through, coronavirus, only they don't have all the bathroom tissue or the paper towel or the rice or, I couldn't even find noodles, one day. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm living in the United States. It's 2020 and I can't find mastacholi noodles. It's just unbelievable. I never thought I'd see that day. But what would you say to people when that were out there kind of hoarding everything, just buying nonstop, like it's just not enough, whatever it is that they have, because they had to have it just in case? What would you say to that person?
Super simple questions here. All right, so that's your Coke, right? So I would say in general, my I'll answer on a bigger scale. My fear that has been realized with this pandemic is we've lost the sense of humanity. All the cute commercials that are making, like, we're in this together. No, we're not, right? I walked, like, I didn't really hit me because I'm kind of like church. I don't really have to provide for our family necessarily. People thought we were starving during COVID, so they kept bringing us like brisket and like, so like, stop bringing us food. Very generous, God bless you, but we didn't. I didn't have to shop too much for. So, but when I did a few times for my parents or whatnot, like, I remember I was like in an aisle in a grocery store and like someone wanted to pass me and kind of just like scooched over. And I looked at them, looked at me, and I was like, oh, I'm a disease-ridden third-class citizen, excuse me. Took 4 steps back and they walked past me because even being within my presence would have infected them. So like, people, I get it, people are scared and people are taking their precautions, but I'm not a walking disease, neither are anybody in this group, either people who have had or who do have COVID. So that, I mean, so like, humanity was immediately just like, no one touched me or talked to me. I'm taking toilet paper. What about that elderly person? Someone else can take care of them. And then like, oh, we hear a cool Facebook story about somebody helping the elderly. Bless their hearts. But reality, majority of people were like taking care of their own. And we're trying to be in this together, but I think it especially initially brought out some of the worst in humanity of like, don't talk to me or touch me. You're not even allowed in my threshold of my home. It's like, okay.
You know what analogy I heard
brotherly.
The other day was really good. Was like, we're not all in the same boat. We're all in the same storm, but we're all in very different boats. So he has a working mom with 3 little kids, someone who's single, a business owner, a teacher, like a priest, like all these people, everybody, we're all in kind of in different situations. But about the people that are in abusive homes or not in healthy, environments and situations that too. So I think it's easy for us to say in our like comfortable lives that, this has been hard. This is stressful, which it probably is. But I mean, there's people that probably have it worse.
I think the hard part too is it's nice to see everybody like celebrating when there's a birthday and people want to make up for the fact that, whoever's birthday it is, they're staying at home. And so it's like you've got these birthday parades and whatever the case may be. Some of them are a little over the top. But there's still families out there that are suffering, the loss of a loved one because of coronavirus. They're suffering because they lost their job. They're suffering because their business closed down. They're suffering because they're homeschooling their kids. Whatever the case may be, there's a lot of sadness with all of this too. And I think we should all keep that in mind too, to be respectful of everybody's situation through this whole thing.
So I have a question for Alana. It kind of got missed at the top. Zina Ibrahim was asking, do you think schools will resume? If so, how? So maybe she missed a little bit of your answer, but if you want to answer.
Oh, in the beginning.
No, that ties into Nora's question too. She wants to know if anything about the fall. Is there a backup plan?
So you just email me. No, I'm just kidding. I mentioned this earlier. We don't know anything officially yet. Our plan for right now is if we go in person, we are going to bring everything, to the classroom that's going to be online. So we kind of teach all the kids in the beginning of the year right away from the get-go what we're going to be doing online if we go back into online learning. But knowing whether we're going to start in person or not, totally up in the air. I don't know anything personally. We haven't been told anything, but we're kind of like, we have a game plan of what we're going to do if. And that's, I know, has been in the works. I know our administration and many administrations in different, districts and other dioceses are really sitting down and thinking like, how can we do this the right way? And so I think, unfortunately, I don't have a straight answer for that. So.
And every school district is going to be different. And I think at this point, we have to wait to see what the government is going to put out as a plan as far as opening the state back up again before the schools can even decide. It's frustrating as a parent, I'd imagine, but I don't see how the school could decide when the state hasn't even decided yet.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. I think that's why there hasn't really been much out. And even, I know we mentioned how West Bloomfield put out their plan. It's great that they have it set, they're putting it out there. But then what happens if, well, I guess it's not that hard to be like, just everybody goes back into school, then you just kind of put the plan to the side, and if we need it later, we use it, right? But I think that's why more schools are not putting it so public right now, because no one, just like Father Pierre is saying, like, no one knows what to do for the churches yet. No one knows what to do for the stores yet. No one knows what to do for schools yet. It's just like that unknown, we don't know what to do. So
does anybody on our panel feel like this is overblown?
I can't comment.
Kind of like Reva said in the beginning.
I represent. I can't comment.
I think it is a legitimate threat.
Exactly.
You know, the hard part, and I was talking to Vanessa earlier today, who's one of the producers, is you could look up statistics online, go on the internet, and you can't even trust your sources anymore. You know, there's word out there that hospitals are listing anybody that passes away as they passed away from coronavirus. So right there was a rumor that 25% of the COVID-19 deaths were not really COVID-19 related. So right there, you don't have an accurate number. If this is something that's very similar to the flu, I'm not saying the symptoms are, but as far as numbers are concerned and people being infected, you know, was it worth it to shut down the entire country? Yes,
Do your hands in this thing? I don't know how this works. So
no, you could just
stories.
interrupt.
Okay, two stories. So,
jump right in.
So when all this started, as far as the church, like, okay, things we can delay. Masses, as crazy as it sounded initially, like, people are going to die, we have to bury them. Heart attacks, car accidents, COVID, it's a part of life. Funerals are part of priesthood. So a few of us were like, okay, we'll dedicate ourselves to that. So I was on that kind of team to do majority of the burials for COVID and non-COVID. So it was a really crazy few months, and not to downplay at all how hard and the heartache is for those who lost a loved one during this time, to not come together, to not share, to not have a mass. Some who couldn't even come into the church at the time because it was a lot of unknowns. I was literally at the cemetery, finished a burial, and I saw someone I knew, someone to go pray with their deceased loved one from decades ago. They were there to visit on an anniversary. I'm like, you know, Father Pierre, I feel like this is all made up and it's all a government thing. I'm like, yeah, tell that guy that. It was like yeah, people died of COVID.
100%.
The Celtic community was hit hard. Like, our funeral numbers were tripled than they usually were for the time period. Has the curve been flattened? Yeah, absolutely it has. Is this thing really serious? Absolutely it has. Can we stay in our homes until the day we die? No, we can't. We have to live our lives somehow, some way. A new normal? Sure, that's why we're having this little chit chat here. But economies are important. Schooling is important. Like, these are part of lives. And just something I was like close to my heart are like people who struggle with addictions and they haven't been able to go to meetings. Like, Zoom meetings are great, but you can't like, if you struggle with that, it's been so hard. Like, weed sales are through the roof, alcohol sales are through the roof.
Yeah.
I'm sure heroin sales are through the roof. People are depressed and anxious, and that's where my heart really aches. Like, yeah, okay, I'm a corporate guy, I can work through home when I can sit with my shorts on and a tie on, sweet. But like, a lot of people are really hurting, and we have an obligation as to humanity to be better.
For me, in the beginning, it was great. I'm like, oh, my adult kids are staying home. I'm not waiting up at night for anybody to come home. We're all on the same schedule. We're hanging out together again at night. This is great. And then after the first month, I'm like, okay, we need to
get out of my house.
Go to the new normal here. Let's start the new normal.
I think the thing I missed the most, Lisa, was like the community. Like, it was like like my little community, me, my husband, and my kids, and we went on a million walks, and it was like, and it was nice. But then I was like, I miss my mom. I miss my
I literally haven't seen my parents in 2 months. I saw my parents on Mother's Day, and that was it. It's been 2 months.
And I think that's something that, like, you know, it's healthy for people naturally to want to be with other people, and the fact that we're isolating ourselves. I mean, think about like prisons. Like, people are put in solitary confinement for a reason, you know, because it's like that suffering of not being with other people. It's like that alone is a suffering. And I think I agree with you, Patrice. Like, I think you don't realize it until all of a sudden you see somebody you haven't seen in like 3 months. You're like, whoa, I really miss you guys. Like,
I went to a proposal and I was like, I guess we'll go, nothing else to do. And I was crying the whole time. Like, people and laughter and music. I'm like, this world,
So I, Saturday I went to pick up a carryout and I was on Woodward, and I don't know what was going on in Birmingham on Woodward, but it was like a mini Woodward dream cruise. People were camped out in parking lots, hanging out. It was crazy busy. I don't know if it's because for the last 2 months, the roads are really not that busy. I actually got really nervous of getting into a car accident. And I thought, look at what 2 months of sitting at home has done to me, that I can't even drive down Woodward without thinking I'm going to get into a car accident. It's just not, it's not a normal way to live, and the thought of to have to do this for another month or more, or for the government to feel like this is what's necessary for me. I think people are just getting frustrated.
I think some new viewers, so we just wanted to let you guys know we're talking today about COVID-19, like kind of like the during as we're sort of coming out of it, and like life after COVID. So we have Reva with us as a business owner, Alana is our teacher, and Father representing the church. So if you have any questions, guys, throw them in the comments.
Well, Melissa Keikos just asked a question. Said, we have some very educated and well-connected individuals within our community. Isn't there any way those members can somehow get voices to be heard within our local government? Michigan has so many small businesses that are owned by members of our community. Reva, have you heard of anything being put together by small businesses?
So the businesses themselves on lots of different platforms are meeting. Like there's groups like SCORE, mentor groups. They're talking, but it's very touchy, because if you come out and push things too fast, you're offending some people. So there's people who want this lockdown to continue for longer. And if you speak up and say anything, they get super angry and emotional about it. And they say, well, what about me? I'm immunocompromised. What about me? I live with my elderly parents. And you got to find that right balance of explaining, hey, I have to survive. My family has to survive. Our neighbors have to survive. So you have to explain to people what you're going through. They need to see sides. I've had a couple people approach me and ask me if I wanted to do something, and I'm just kind of waiting to see what the next phase is going to be to open. I honestly think if it doesn't open at the end of this month, there's going to be some big problems in the community, and people are going to
I don't think it's fair if you're pushing to open things back up again, when people just throw it in your face that you don't care about lives. It's not fair. I think what people fail to see is not everybody lives in a very happy home. There's kids that have abusive parents and they're home with them all day long. And then God help that child if the father lost their job or there's no money coming in. From what I understand, pornography sites are going crazy, being visited. It's just, there's a lot of things that go on in somebody's home that are not typical, and we have to be mindful of that.
If I can share an opinion.
What are your thoughts on
this? I don't speak on behalf of anybody else. Anybody, I know you do, Abona, but I don't, and I don't mean to. But I just think that you can't ignore, and I read this really great article about it, is that you can't ignore all the other curves for the sake of one curve. Because you usually get cancer screenings, aren't getting those screenings, with heart problems, all these like elective procedures that aren't elective procedures. This guy today was telling me about how dentists haven't been seeing their patients. What if people have abscesses, or like these things can cause long-term health issues, or the well-being of a business owner, then you get into a depression. You can get into all these things that ruin. There's just so many other elements in the world besides COVID-19. And you can't for everything else in society. I'm not saying it isn't real. I agree with you, Father Pierre, that people are dying. The hospitals were overwhelmed. It was, we were all scared, not ignoring or discounting any of that.
It's a legitimate threat.
It is a legitimate threat. I'm just saying you can't ignore everything else, all the other, like I said, people living in abusive homes or all these other things just for COVID-19. You can't.
I mean, I feel like a nail salon, if the business owner wants to open up and they put a sneeze guard and I'm wearing a mask, and then whoever's doing my nails is wearing a mask, and I'm willing to take that risk, why can't I take the risk? If somebody else feels like it's not safe for them to go out, if they have underlying issues, then stay home.
And it's their choice.
Why do we all
sense.
have to stay home?
Yeah.
You know, to me, it doesn't seem to make sense. And in the beginning, it was all about flattening the curve. We flattened the curve. What's the reason now?
Mm-hmm.
I think too, like I was talking to a professor, nameless professor, and I was like, you know, are schools gonna open back up in the fall? They're like, you know, I hope so, because students are probably just cheating and passing their, you know, I was like, as a person who hears confessions for a living, they are cheating, right? Like,
But Pierre, that's not new to any teacher. Okay, that's so not new. Even easier. Yep.
It's a lot easier to be like, oh, nothing happened, or just like, oh, I can put a picture up and I'm like not paying attention at all. It's completely different. I mean, there's no way, you can't just teach everything in life through this. You can't do all business through. I can't preach. I'm like, you know how frustrating it is to preach to a camera? I'm like, right?
Father Pierre, I was just going to ask you that question.
Amen. Okay, no one's here.
Somebody
was laughing at your jokes. How do you even know that they're funny?
I don't. I'm not funny.
That's all. Patrice, they comment. They have the laughing faces. There's the commenting on Facebook Live.
Big thumbs up.
Everybody's talking.
And then the views every week, go down, right? And the number of views go down.
But Reva, it was like on their retail for Reva, my friend was saying how Instacart has like actually saved him money because his wife doesn't browse through the aisles. And the same thing with me in retail. Like,
that's funny.
For one thing, I remember I came into your boutique when I was getting married. I think I came in just for a Cleela or something, and I walked out with like 2 bags worth. So, I mean, that's what you do. You walk in, and that's what retail is. If you're going to do curbside, I'm just going to get my Cleela and leave. So
yeah, you're saving money that way. But I don't know. I'm spending a lot of money on food. My kids are not going out to eat, so it's all on mom.
You're probably
there's a lot of other moms out there. They're saving money. I'm spending it all.
Where's my Desita? Come on, Lisa.
I'm having you over for
dinner.
This
food.
Huh?
You make biryani and dolma now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I made Bahamas and Mabasima cookbook sales. I got to give Calca plug has been skyrocketing for anybody that wants a book. Yeah. You know, we put the challenge out there. I made Bahamas. I made the Bahamas actually. Came out pretty good too. My husband thought I bought them. He's like, "You really made these?" Yeah, I really made them. I used the Mabasima cookbook with my mom's twist. Somebody asked the question, do you think weddings will ever be the same?
I can probably take this one. I think the massive weddings for a while are going to be a thing that's not happening. The venues are pretty much saying half capacity forward. Some even less. It's going to depend what the state's going to say. A lot of people are not willing to have weddings with just 100 people, so they want to wait. But if this virus comes back and it continues again, I know somebody who's already delayed twice now. So you don't know what's going to happen, but you're still going to have your special day. The bride's still going to need all of her stuff. All the special people will be there. We might just not be inviting our mom's neighbor, cousin's sister from the street with the campus.
Only the Middle Easterners do that anyway, so we're the only ones that have this issue.
No, Italians and Greeks, they all have big weddings.
They all have,
cultural, yeah.
So it's funny, there's weddings that we were invited to this summer, and I'm like, well, we made the cut this summer, but we might not make the cut next year. So
That's fine. Necessarily a bad thing. A lot of the couples wanted smaller events, and their parents would force them to have the bigger ones. I hear it all the time, and I hear the arguments and stuff back and forth. And they're like, "Mom, I don't know them. Why do they have to be at my wedding?" And they don't really need to be there. Your event can be amazing without 900 people. You know, it's.
And I think even some of them might organically, like, say, someone like. People might decline, put it that way. Someone who is older, who was immunocompromised, who doesn't want to be at that wedding, not because they don't love and respect you, but they just don't want to be in that big of a setting. So your numbers might just be lower because people are going to be declining to even.
I think the other issue too, I think currently, maybe, I don't know about in the future, but is people that live out of town or out of the country that come in for occasions,
Yeah.
you know, and sometimes they're not just distant cousins. Sometimes they're like brothers and sisters and, you know, really super close people that I know that people are struggling right now planning, like, should I, you know, move it or should I not move it? Because if I move it, then like, you know, there's just so many issues with like, will these people come? And it's not, again, they're close people. So it's like, do you just have your wedding and live stream it? Or do you just wait?
God, can you imagine?
They're live streaming funerals.
They're
Everybody
live
can
streaming
join them.
funerals, so they might as well live stream a wedding too.
Well, a lot of people are not going to feel comfortable right away. So some of your initial events are going to be smaller. We're preparing for that in the event industry. And a lot of people, they just want to get married. A lot of people have already bought homes. They have mortgages. They want to be together. They're moving to a different state to be with that person. They've already quit their job to do this. They want to, like Father said earlier, they want to start a family. You know, do you really want to wait 1.5 to 2 years to begin something like that? I would just really suggest to people, have the smaller event and move forward with your life, because anything else could happen.
Preach.
But nothing is guaranteed.
Never.
So in the beginning, when all of this happened, it was actually nice. I felt like, for me, like maybe this is God's way of telling me you need to slow down, because I know I'm always on the go. I always have something going on, and it was nice to be able to relax. I'm just over it now. I'm like, God, whatever lesson you were trying to teach me, I think I learned it. I'm ready to get back out again. And for me, I'm ready. I'm just ready. I'm going to take the necessary precautions, but it would be nice to be able to get back out there again.
And for those who aren't ready, then it's fine. Stay, continue to do what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You know, like masses are just.
And it doesn't mean I'm right, and it doesn't mean somebody else is wrong. It's just, I think everybody has a different feeling. There's Sue is asking a question. What do you think about communion kids and their learning of mass and prayers through Zoom? So,
all these, I'm a very opinionated person. Okay, Lisa.
You picked the wrong person to join this. I'm just kidding.
I think, you know, communions kind of stopped March 13-ish, where we started. That's when like shutdown kind of happened. Like if the kids don't learn like Philip Yoma, okay, then you know what? They're still gonna get the first communion, and they're gonna forget that song anyway. So let's get their gown from Reva. Let's make this thing happen. Let's get this from Jesus. So
yes,
that's my take on it. Is we gotta stop pretending.
I disagree with you, Father. I still remember all the songs from when they taught me a long, long, long time ago.
And
all 3 verses go. No, wait, Lisa.
Wait, I don't remember that one.
I remembered all the songs.
You know what? I don't think Father Yessi taught that one back in the 70s.
Everybody knew that song from like my great-grandfather from the village.
I'm talking about the regular prayers. I can sing along.
Yeah. That was the mass prayers. Yeah. No, if you want to end up like going to mass, my nieces who are 5 and 3 and 1. This is my sister. Especially that they know the because they go to mass.
Father, you have a question from Daniela. She said, I have a question for you, Father Pierre. Are the churches baptizing now?
We never stopped.
Never stopped. Only 10 people allowed?
Where's your mic, Father Pierre?
Drop it.
Drop the cross.
No, carry the cross.
Is there a limit to the number of people that can come in for the baptism?
It's currently 10. If 11 come in, like whatever. But yeah, I've done, you know, a half dozen baptisms or so, and they've been great. People have been doing it.
I feel like those already lessened with the amount of people anyway throughout the years. Maybe not the receptions if they have them, but I mean, my niece's baptism was less than 10 people because it was literally like my siblings, the in-laws, and my parents. And
my immediate family is bigger than 10.
Okay, immediate
like on both sides.
Bigger family. Yeah. But I'm saying like I mean, how many people are really going to their cousin's baptism unless you're a godparent?
Yeah.
I haven't gone to a cousin's baptism, even, you know.
Yeah.
But it's usually more than one child, so that's the thing.
So, if it's
not very much. I did one like 2 weeks ago on a Friday at 11 a.m. It's like, I was like, all right, you free Friday at 11 a.m., Father? I am. So we did baptism. Man, it was great.
So it doesn't have to be on a Saturday. or a Sunday?
Not right now because
No.
everything's a bit weird. But I think once things start back up again, it'll be moving forward.
So Father Pierre, what would you say to people that say that you and the other priests and Bishop Francis have been on like a long vacation? 2 months. Just relaxing, no mass.
Yeah. So when it first happened, people were like, "Oh, you're enjoying your break?" And my analogy I used, and it's a little intense analogy, but I'm an intense person, so just relax, is like you have children who are crazy and are a lot and ask lots of questions, who are kind of a mess, and they're a lot of stress and a lot of burden. So I'm going to kidnap your children from you and be like, "Oh, now you're free from your children. Aren't you like super restful and relaxed now that you have no children?" No, I love my children. Okay.
Yeah.
I love being a priest. I love like it was a crazy busy. Sure, it's fine, but I love being a priest. So like when masses were, not publicly celebrated anymore, it was devastating. Holy Week was.
That was the roughest, I
hard.
think. Just going through
different.
Easter, Holy Week was, to have to go through Holy Week and not be able to go to church was very difficult.
It was difficult to not give you Jesus throughout it. So every
It's like
priest is
you were hitting
their
the
own
finish line and then you're at home.
Yeah, like, "Oh yeah, happy Easter." Okay, high five.
So anticlimactic.
Yeah.
No mass, no Palm Sunday, which is a big deal for people's lives and kind of a sacramental, like a very tangible part
A friend
of
of
their
mine
faith.
did drop off palms. They ordered them online.
Oh,
We had
nice
some from
hustle.
previous years.
Yeah.
Nice hustle.
Were they blessed? Lisa?
Yeah, I guess they got them blessed too.
My friend dropped off one from his mom that was like years old. I was like, he brought me one.
So Diana Konja is asking a question. Father Pierre, you're getting all the questions today. Well, you and Alana, who's the world's greatest teacher.
Miss Bahoura?
Miss Bahoura. What if immediate families are bigger than 10? I'd imagine you had funerals where the immediate family was more than 10 people. How did you guys handle this?
Draw straws. I mean, I know I get that it's difficult, and we can don't tell Whitmer, we'll do like 12 or something, right? But it just, you got to pick it, and I've had it, and I'll be the bad guy if need be. Like, well, Father, she had 8 kids, and then their spouses. I was like, well, their spouses can't come in, so blame me. And people have been fine with it. I really haven't had that much pushback. People aren't super excited to come in 40 people in the small space. People are mourning, like their parents will die and their siblings won't shake hands or hug or embrace. So they've been pretty okay with it. There've been some pushback, some issues, struggles, but calmly, it's an issue. But then the kind of the saving grace has been, once we're graveside and the burial is finished and the cemetery crew leaves, gather 10, 50,000, I don't care. And then we stay and pray. Umbrellas, whatever. We're going to sit there and we're going to gather there, graveside, and we're going to pray, which has been kind of a consolation for the family.
I think one of the saddest things is people dying alone with the coronavirus. And I had a friend who did have the virus, and she suffered at home, and she was adamant she wasn't going to go to the hospital because she said she was scared of dying alone. It's just the thought.
And I think
that. It's so sad.
When we look back at this, what I didn't want to happen was, in 10 years, looking back at it, we should have done this. That was my mindset from the beginning. And I think hospitals, like in all due respect, like Beaumont, Royal Oak, other places that have been fortresses, like priests have called, we want to come, patients want it. So sorry. And they've been getting a lot of those calls. They get the lack of patience, but they're allowing, and at first, fine, no one knew what was happening. Now people are dying alone without the sacraments. And I think they're doing a disservice to the community and to the people whom they're serving. All due respect. At first, fine, but now things need to be reevaluated, and they haven't been, and it's been very frustrating.
A relative of ours passed away. She was in her 90s. She was a great grandmother, raised her family, loved by so many, and she passed away alone in the hospital. And it broke my heart, because I thought of my grandmother when she passed away, and we were all around her, and she was feeling the love. And that was one thing that we were able to appreciate walking away, that she knew how much we loved her. And every time I think about our relative, it breaks my heart, because like, she raised a family, she struggled through so much, and then at the end she passed away alone. And I have to agree with you, Father Pierre. It's heartbreaking. Yep. And Marianne just commented, my sister died alone and she couldn't go to the church or the burial. I think it
Here,
was,
Madonna actually corrected and said Beaumont Royal allows visitors end of life up to 2 people.
No, they don't. I've called personally.
You guys can
yeah, I don't think.
Call again, Father Pierre.
I was in the parking lot with a woman, and her husband was dying in the hospital, and we called and they wouldn't let us in. 2 days later, he was dead.
Chills.
And all due respect to him and to the family, it was disrespectful. I'm sorry, Beaumont Royal, I have a great relationship with you. You've made your choices, but I think it's time to reevaluate for the sake of humanity that we've lost.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the biggest thing I think that's been a miss. This whole thing is the humanity. I had a similar grocery store thing where people were like really rude and really weird. And then my cousin's wife she's in the medical field, so she's wearing scrubs. She hasn't seen or touched any COVID people the entire time. She's like, if I go grocery shopping in my scrubs, people run away from me.
Oh yeah.
I just think that part of, and then even walking down the street, people are like, you're walking in the I'm like, what are you afraid of? Like,
Yeah.
my 3-year-old. I'm like, but I mean, I understand. I think that's where it breaks my heart, because I think that there's a lot of healing, because that's a lot of it's all fear, and the fear is like the devil. Like some of it's based in truth, but it's really not. At the core of it is lies, right, Father? I don't know if you want to speak to that a little, like how fear can become irrational, how it's based in something, but then it can become too much.
Yeah, I think if someone is 80 years old, smoked since they were 12, and have health problems, they're watching the stats. Like, those who die are those with lung issues and high blood pressure. And they're like, wait a second. Like, there's a rational fear that can play therein. One thing I've been, biting my tongue a little bit about this, I don't want to get too political about it. People are like, I'm not scared for me, I'm scared for my kids. Like, have you read an article about how kids don't react? Well, there's this one super random study that's really not a thing. It sort of could be. It's like kids are really not being affected by this. As the stats that I've read, I'm not a scientist or making any judgment on humanity here. But we're scared and we're worried and we're fearful, and it's like, okay, I totally get it, and that rationale and that reasoning is fine, but then take the next step. So fear, I'm a big army guy. I follow a lot of army stuff. People don't lack fear in the middle of battles. They are very scared. It's overcoming said fear, rationally. I'm going to wear a mask, I'm going to wash my hands, and I'm going to do what I can to exist. And if I physically cannot because I'm that immunocompromised, then that's a different burden. But people who are relatively healthy, who are living in that it's almost like when ISIS happened in Iraq. I was surprised and had to minister to people in America who were scared of ISIS across different continents. And they were having anxiety, they were not sleeping, kids were scared. We have scared we put that fear, and fear can be a very, very, very strong thing. And Christ has to come to help us overcome that fear, as well as our kind of a rational humanity to move forward as best we can in a safe way.
Some practical advice we got, which I'll share this video that we interviewed a class bestie who's a therapist, was to turn off the TV. She's like, too much of that is not good. It's not healthy. It's like you're just getting, because it's kind of like adding fuel to that fire of fear. Just turn off the TV, turn off your Facebook, kind of like. And
pray.
Father Pierre, you made a comment about people that were using the excuse of, well, I have children at home, I don't want them to catch anything.
Not excuses. People who were worried about that. So terms are important. Words are important.
You're right. People that were worried. I was concerned about that. I do have a son with special needs, so that was my biggest fear, was him catching something and ending up in the hospital alone, because that's what we were told. You're supposed to drop people off at the door and drive away, and that was my biggest fear. But I handled it by making sure that I was responsible. I didn't impose it on anybody else. I was the one that was careful when I went out. I was the one that was careful what was brought into the house. We were the ones that stayed home. And I think that's something that, just as a society nowadays, we're constantly looking at what the other person is doing versus taking responsibility for what we have to do. What's your opinion on that?
I don't know. I get it, right? And I do. I don't know. It's such a complicated thing because I've been very patient. If you're if people are like, Father, we're just really cautious. We'll see you in June. I'm like, okay, see you in June. How about you guys? Hey, we're cool. What up, Father? Hey, hugs. I'm trying to be really sensitive to people because fear is a real thing, and I don't know people's health, and I don't know their mental or physical or their grandparents. Maybe they have a parent or sibling or spouse who died of COVID, and they're even more scared and fearful. You just don't know where people are coming from. I'm not trying to judge a human's existence here, but I'm just trying to look at like the big picture of the world, not even just Michigan or the country, literally the world. I was talking to people in Iraq today, and they're just like, yep, we're still just like, churches are still closed. Okay. Is like June 1st going to have the magical vaccine that I'm not aware of? Or we need to have a more realistic like approach to like, we didn't know what's happening, we stopped. Now we don't know what's happening. Okay, but we know that we can wash our hands, not touch our face. Okay, we can do that and go and buy our first communion gowns and have first communion in a church with 10 people and 30 people or 100 people, so we can support businesses, and then students can actually have interactions with humanity and learn what that means. Am I pointing the right way? Right. So
it's different on everyone's screen, so just
it's all different. It's all different. And that we just have to go back to, these aren't like the norms of like what we've come accustomed to. That's human existence since the beginning of humanity is communal life. And grandmas should hug and kiss their grandchildren and vice versa. So I hope that we can acknowledge our fears and kind of the stress this has caused upon us, work through them, process them at our own paces, and then slowly yet surely take the steps needed to find that peace that a lot of us have lost.
Good point, Father Pierre. You brought up the vaccination. Are we all of a sudden can find that magic vaccine that's going to save everybody? For the moms watching, I am not a non-vaxxer, but I personally don't feel comfortable taking a vaccine that they came up with quickly that hasn't been tested. What are your thoughts, panel, on a vaccination?
Hey, Lisa, we didn't know if we were going to go there. She's like,
a vax route.
But I'm not a non-vaxxer, just so everybody knows before I get attacked.
So I can comment a little bit to this. I follow a lot of this stuff, and they've been working on a vaccine for MERS and SARS for a long time and haven't had a safe one come out. And now that they're under pressure, they magically all of a sudden have human trials and have something that they say is working. For something for a couple months to start injecting an entire population with doesn't sound like it makes that much sense. And they're saying this is more deadly than the flu, but then the US had approximately 80,000 flu deaths last year, even though they were getting a lot of vaccines for the flu. You have to be really careful. There's a lot of side effects to this. And I 100% am not down to get injected with something that has been tested on, a small amount of people and quickly given out to the masses.
Yeah. And this, I feel like, goes in the category of like fear again, right? It's like, what do you do? Then you just don't know, because it's just nothing's certain.
Yeah, I think to me it's not that my kids are vaccinated on schedule. I'm not anti-vax, but I kind of agree with you guys. You're saying that, like, I don't know if I trust this vaccine because it's just so new. But also, I think that it's just beyond a vaccine. I think it's just about, it's got to get to a point of like herd immunity where enough people have gotten it, enough people that like kind of have the antibodies, and we're all just like we all get the common cold, we all get the flu, like people get sick and get better, and that has got to be more of the focus. Is like, I'm not afraid of getting it and dying. It's okay to get it. Like, okay, there's a treatment for it, or like I think that when the narrative changed from flatten the curve to finding a cure is when everyone got all confused, and fear became like, now we're not going to leave our houses for 12 more months. And it's like, we're doing the curve here, and we know that diseases come and go, and SARS and Ebola and like things kind of come in, and it's a wave. We didn't want to overwhelm the healthcare system, so home, and then it's going to come back. There will be a second wave. I think since the beginning they've been saying there will be a second wave. All of a sudden now everyone, we got to prevent the second wave. I'm like, well, there's going to be one once we open.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's just
the goal just keeps changing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that concerns me is that, they were putting talks out there that you can't even fly unless you've taken the virus. It's like, I thought we
The
live in a free
vaccine?
country here. Yeah. That was one of the things they were talking about, that they wanted to put it out there that you can't get on a plane unless you've taken the vaccination. What if I don't want to?
There's too many.
What if you don't want to wear a mask when you walk into the store?
Yeah.
There's
The
too
mask
many
thing too, I've been doing because I don't want to be a jerk, but I don't believe in the mask thing either.
The mask is great for a no makeup day. You know.
Wear your sunglasses and a mask.
Yes,
and you're
a
all
mask.
good.
Father Pierre agrees.
Yes, it works for some things, but no, I have to agree. Yeah, we're following the guidelines, but when it comes to the vaccination, if I don't want to take it, I don't think I should be isolated just because.
Yeah.
I have a question for Reva, unless there's questions coming up at the end soon.
Oh, you're good.
I just want to talk, I mean, the thing about fear, and like, I think the fear of the virus was obviously very real, but the fear of like really losing your livelihood. We're thankful to have our lives, and I've had friends who talk about, like, if I shut down, I shut down. I move with my parents, we live with my parents. But nobody wants to do that. And I'm thinking about like the hospitality industry that went down to, oh gosh, some of them went down to like 10%, like it's insane kind of numbers. The restaurant industry, I mean, the restaurants are already nickeling and diming the way to just survive. It's not that profitable of an industry. Like what's some of the advice that we're going to help, like psychologically and it's like economically is one thing, but just sense of like you're successful and you provide for your family, and in the Catholic Church you have like the Catholic social teachings, like the dignity of work is one of them. As humans, we need to work to have like a sense of purpose, whether it's shoveling garbage or like building whatever with Trump. But what's the advice that you can have for people who are on that spectrum?
You need other human beings to survive. We are not meant to live in isolation. We need other people. I miss my customers from the bottom of my heart. It hurts not to see people or be able to help them. And in the end, I gave the rate earlier, 1/3 of businesses already are going to be shut down and never reopen. So what does that mean for somebody who's put their heart and soul into a business?
Yeah.
Their family might have owned it for decades.
Yeah.
Like myself, we've been in this business for about a little over 9.5 years. And I have people telling me, shut down, walk away. You're never going to survive this. And it breaks my heart when you have to rally around your local businesses. You have to push for some type of opening. Curbside gets people their things and gives you a little bit of sales. That is nothing. It is not enough to pay our rent. It is not enough to pay our overhead. You're talking about a small, tiny business has anywhere from $8,000 and more of overhead a month. That's your curbside pickups are not going to ever cover that. And it's very stressful. Like, I'm juggling the Instagram and Facebook and online and newsletters and all my vendor emails. And hi, we're pulling up to your store right now. What's your name? Go dig through 50 dresses and, run back out and put your mask on, sanitize your hands, kick the door with your foot. This is not living. When the governor came on yesterday and people were like, oh my God, she's reopening. And then they were like, oh, Traverse City and Upper Peninsula. We have like no cases and should have never closed.
And everybody lives 2 miles apart.
Yeah. And I heard it and my face fell. I started crying at work. Because I for a second had my hopes up and I'm like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. You opened the Upper Peninsula. We had a news conference for you to open the UP.
But in her defense, though, that is a good way for her to start reopening.
It was a good sign for me too.
It could have been worse, Reva. She could have said, I'm extending the order until July 1st.
I'm still terrified. I am still terrified.
It's going to happen.
To possibly do it for our area.
I have a feeling it's going to be extended. That's just.
I'll
bet you dinner, Father Pierre.
The rest of the year.
What did you say?
I said that I'm going to Traverse City. Who's coming with me? I'm going to
Traverse City.
Everyone's going to go there. Then the virus is going to go there too. And then they're going to have to shut it down.
People need to change the mentality of, we did our part. What happened, happened. The economy is going to crumble. It cannot withstand this. There's no way possible it can go back to even what it was for years. All this money that they're handing out, somebody has to pay that back. This is not free money. Your unemployment is not free to everybody.
Yeah.
Somebody, business owners, taxpayers, you will
Our children.
back. Yeah, your children's children's children are going to be paying this back.
It's not free money.
No, they are giving loans randomly to people who are going to take it and run. The stuff I'm seeing is so insane. There's not a lot of guidance and protocol to what they're doing. You just really need to rally behind the small businesses and employees, and the people who feel comfortable opening, support them. The people who don't feel comfortable, support them too.
What I thought was interesting is in the beginning, you couldn't even go to your second home up north because they did not want the virus to go up there. And then just before Memorial Day weekend, she opens up Traverse City.
Yeah.
I just, it doesn't make sense to me. Last month, I couldn't go to my house up north because they couldn't accommodate if there was a large group of people that got sick. But now it's Memorial Day weekend is coming up. You opened up Traverse City. And aren't you worried about the virus spreading up there?
I just think it was hopeful to like open up the rest of the state. Again, a slow open, a safe open. I'm not saying like everything all at once, but Lisa, do you want to read the comment from my cousin?
From your cousin.
Jasmine.
Who's your cousin? Jasmine. It's a whole new way of thinking and treating.
Before that, okay.
Let me go back up.
Regarding the mask thing. So my cousin's a PT.
Oh,
physical
yeah. Do you want to read it? It's a long one.
Sure.
She's a doctor of physical therapy.
So she's a doctor of physical therapy.
Yeah.
Sorry, she's thinking, but she's amazing and beautiful.
Okay.
She says, I work as a clinic director of a physical therapy clinic, and 6-foot rule just cannot apply to us. I understand people don't want to wear the mask, but I find it selfish. You're putting me at risk and all the other patients in the clinic. It's not a fear thing. It comes down to I'm touching your body to work on your knee, following your joint replacement, and then 45 minutes later touching someone else's back, shoulder, neck, etc., and doing that for 15 other patients 5 days a week. All I have is a mask and glasses to protect me. So basically the mask isn't to protect me. If I'm wearing a mask, it's to protect all of you.
So you're saying that she's saying people are choosing not to do it in her clinic?
Not that they're choosing not to, but that for someone to walk in and say, I don't want to wear one is like disrespectful to her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think if it's her business and it's a rule that she has, people should respect it.
100%.
We'll have masks for sure, almost probably required in the church for a while.
Mm-hmm.
For everyone's safety. I have no problem with masks.
Yeah.
But at that point, like, who cares? It's like a piece of paper covering your mouth. Like, I just don't I think it goes back to like the whole, like, well, it should be my choice. But in my mind, if it's not harming me, like if it's not so inconvenient for me to wear a mask, then I really could care less if people around me feel more, like I would feel more comfortable. Like I have a father who's immunocompromised, and when I'm around people that don't wear masks, I'm the people, if I appear in the store, that I'm like,
I was wearing a mask.
Okay, no, you're right.
Not disease.
But then but I'll be honest, like I'm one of those people, and I think this just is my own personal, it's like when I see people that don't wear masks, it's so like, but why aren't they? And I get it. I get her comment because it's just kind of, it's not just for yourself, it's other people.
It's for others. So Renee asked the question, but is it that contagious? Do a lot of people spit when they talk? I will tell you, Renee, we have a sneeze guard up at our store, and you'd be surprised how many people spit when they talk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so, yes.
You see it.
It's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda Herman, what about our kids? Would they have to wear a mask in church?
In church?
It would be up to the parents, but unless the church.
Archdiocese is like.
I think it's over 2. Over the age.
Over 2.
They have to, under the age of.
So you mean in schools then probably would happen?
Someone had asked it earlier, would the kids wear masks to school?
I mean, if we were going to be lathering, sanitizing stuff on their hands and their desks, then why would I not wear a mask at the same time? But how would I teach with a mask? That's like, some people have a hard time like hearing.
Hearing, yep.
Yeah.
I don't wear masks.
It's hard to wear it all day long.
Because I can't preach with a freaking Bane mask on.
You can't breathe sometimes.
Yeah.
People were calling my mother, like, your son's not wearing a mask. He's being irresponsible. I'm like, I'm not preaching with a cloth thing over my mouth trying to preach the God. It's just, if we're talking, it's hard enough. And so keep my distance and project my voice and preach the gospel.
Yeah. But I think with her comment, it's a place, like, don't go in that place then. If you don't want to wear the mask, then don't go there.
Yeah.
But as I had some friends say, he's a business owner, and a woman walked in and she was irrational, but she was demanding that he wear a mask as a business owner. And he's like, I won't. And she called the police, but the police couldn't do anything because he has the right as a business owner to wear or not wear. But him as a business owner also has the right to require you to wear one. So it's like, no shirt, no service, no shoes, no shirt, no. It's the same rule. You can, as a business owner, require everybody walking in to wear one, but you're not required.
We have a question from Susan Yoni. She said, how would you sing in a church choir? There isn't going to be a choir, right, Father?
Not for a while.
Yeah.
If they are, they'll be in this like back corner.
And then Vanessa commented that she can't believe somebody actually called your mother, Father Pierre.
Oh, dozens. It wasn't an individual. It was a phone call. My poor mother. Leave my mom alone, okay? She's wonderful. I make fun of her. I'm allowed
not into these conversations. Oh, not even here.
They always blame the mother. They go after the mom. And then Lena commented, I feel bad, but I won't be bringing the kids to mass with me for a while. And that's understandable. And you know what? It's within her, whatever she's comfortable with.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
You can actually weaken your immune system by over sanitizing and wearing a mask. Some bad germs are good for you.
We're not going to get into the debate of how this works in this Zoom, so sorry. But I do want to say, be very careful of like PTSD for, I mean, we talk about it for like first responders, how much they've had to deal with. Children at home who were like, how do you get coronavirus? From people? Don't talk to people. Like, okay. So we're going to have to retrain you of how humanity works.
No, because honestly, my daughter, and this was a few weeks ago, because I'm on the more like open-ended. I had a birthday drive-by and like 20 kids in my yard. Like I
hugged my nieces.
But I've been a little bit more on the open end of it. But in the beginning, the first time we went to see a friend and we're like, we'll do a drive-by. And we literally were in their driveway. And the 3-year-old ran up to my 5-year-old and my daughter went like this. And I was like, that was her first reaction, was like, don't touch me. And I like it made me cry. And I was like, honey, you can hug her. It's okay. But I think to Father Pierre's point, if us as parents, we could be instilling this fear in our children, whether we're realizing it or not, by what we're doing, what we're allowing. When we're saying, don't hug grandma and they're sick. My kids were asking for weeks, are they better yet? Are they better yet? Are they better? I'm like, my poor kids think my parents are dying. And all I'm trying to say is you can't hug them. So, I mean, I think it's like, it's going to be a lot of healing, but they're watching us, what we say and what we do, and how we are as adults. The kids are going to mimic that. So it's important to.
Humans. We're humans.
So, anything we missed?
There's one more question, Lisa. Do you want to re-ask the question to Father Pierre from Paulette?
Okay, so she just logged in. Is there any word of when the church will resume and how many people would attend the service?
Rewind the Zoom call.
Father, again.
You're late. It's your fault. No, so I'm sorry. The May 31st will more than likely be the day that we start doing public masses. It'll likely be a percentage, 25% of legal capacity is more than likely the number that we'll stick by, and then it'll increase as phases and all that stuff kind of get worked out.
Father, I have to say the Chaldean Church did a great job.
Aren't the priests
2
amazing?
months. Yes.
Yeah, they were great.
You
they
guys
were just like,
are.
all right, we're going to get online and we're going to preach the
With
gospel on
adoration
Facebook Live and YouTube and all these things. They were making English. They hit the ground running. I was very proud and impressed with my brother priests.
Yes, you definitely did.
Lisa, can I end with a couple plugs?
Sure.
Unless there's any more, does anybody have any thoughts? Anybody?
Patrice has to end with a couple plugs.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
Seriously, always this stuff going
see, Father, somebody just asked, do we have to sign up for Mass? Are you going to tell them about your $20 rule?
I don't think the kids would follow that sign up. We love our people, but
it'll be a first come, first serve.
I just want to add something. You guys are talking about the masks and the business owner being able to choose. they're gonna enforce, like, to open, you have to follow those rules. Like what she came out for Traverse City and all of them, she specifically said your store capacity, you have to figure out how there can be space between people. You have to practice safe sanitization of the store. Everybody has to wear masks, all employees, owners, customers. So it's not a choice anymore, not for us.
Yeah, but people have to implement that and enforce that.
Yeah.
And police are a little fed up, from my understanding. So,
but to make other customers feel better, you might want to do it until the fear starts calming down. Just for respect for other people.
So
get it if you don't want to, but just
Reva, you talked about the fear. I remember in the beginning when carryouts were still available. So I was like the designated person to go pick up carryouts and groceries in my family. So you're going to pick up your carryout and you're like, okay, I should sanitize my hands before I touch the tray. But then I touch the tray, but I'm coming home. I can't touch my purse to get my hand sanitizer because I touched the tray. But then I touch my purse to get my hand sanitizer out, but now I got to wipe my purse down. Then I'm home and I'm like, okay, hold on. I got to take all of the food out of the container and then put it in another container, but then wash my hands because I touched the lid. Like, I should have just cooked dinner myself. It would have been so much easier. And then you guys wonder why we're all paranoid and why we're all going to have mental health issues after this. Anybody else struggle like I did?
I think everybody did.
Yeah, we leave our stuff in the garage for days, like pantry stuff, right? Like
mail in a bag for like
things.
I would pick up the mail every 3 days. I was the designated mail person too. Pick up the mail, leave it in the garage. Lysol, bring it in. You know,
I'm stopping though. I went
to the grocery store.
the other day. I didn't sanitize myself. And the mail, I'm
I'm done with that.
We were worse in the beginning.
Yeah.
The last question: are you going to keep live streaming mass after we open the church?
Yeah, at least for the next few months, we'll be for sure live streaming the masses. What we don't want people to do is be like, I can just watch mass in my pajamas with a cup of coffee, and I can be like 10 minutes late. We don't want that to be the norm. Get out of bed, get to mass, worship Jesus eventually.
I can imagine the live streaming will stop once the dispensation is taken away.
I think it'll kind of organically not be as big of a thing.
Progressively.
People will not be as inclined. I don't like doing it. It's kind of awkward, but I think it'll still always be there. And the Holy Martyrs, when this whole thing started, they're like, bro, we've been live streaming before it was a thing, right? So, which is great. They've always live streamed the masses, and there are a lot of stay-at-homes who can't get there, whatever, they're sick, or they're having children, or they're just elderly. So it's always been a good thing to do for churches, but now, so I think it'll be still a thing, but at a much lesser scale forever.
Father Pierre, you got a question from Claire Konja. I gotta ask.
Hi, Claire.
Shawarma.
Because she's your boss.
Yep. So she said, so will the masses still stream live if church is only opening to 25%? I guess Claire didn't tune in from the beginning.
Or the past 45 seconds.
Quick answer, ready? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
For a while.
Details to follow. By the way, Calc and the Community Foundation have done a great job serving the community for all during this time, as well as they've taken a huge hit financially. So people,
remember
you can support
us
with food or without any help. They're helping. They're serving our community in ways that we never could in a very official way. So they can always use your help. You can go to the website at
www.calconline.org or reach out to me. Food Pantry is on Friday. Every Friday, we're distributing food, and we are in desperate need of donations to keep up with our food pantry because we have a lot more families that have been added on. We have double the amount of families. Their kids are home from school. They are in need, and we're there to help, but we need your help to continue. So we would really appreciate it. www.calconline.org, donate button, drop down to food pantry. Or contact me via Facebook.
Lisa, we had that big box in Yeti CRC during Lent, and then people stopped coming. So if you want us, we can talk offline. If you want to
swing by and pick it up. And Mabasima cookbooks are available. I'll happily drop it off for anybody that wants to save the $5 on shipping. If you'll buy an apron for $15 in addition to it. Go ahead, Patrice. You said you had a plug.
I do have a couple, but thank you guys, everyone, for being. I'll let Lisa do the thank yous at the end. So for those that haven't joined yet, on Fridays, we have a couples night in Zoom. And this Friday, Father Brian is doing the talk, and it's going to be about the 5 love languages. So stay tuned. I'll post it here on the Chaldean Moms page, on ECRC's page for the Zoom information. So it's this Friday at 9 p.m. So Father Brian will speak for a little bit, and then we break into small groups. So it's like this, and we just kind of chat. And it's actually been really, really fun. We have some really fun stuff planned. Just grab a drink with your spouse or your boyfriend or your fiance and join us. That'll be this Friday at 9. And as Vanessa, Lisa, and I were kind of brainstorming for this, this episode, we really felt that there should be a part 2. So there's a lot of other people we want to talk to, maybe like a medical professional. And what were some of the other categories? I think like a salon owner. So if you fall in one of those categories, or you've been watching this, you think it's great, reach out to me or Lisa or Vanessa Denha Garmo, and we can get you to the next show, whether that'll be next week or the week after. You can do it from home, so no need to come to studio. And then what I referenced at some point in this episode was an Invitation to Sisterhood. Is a show that me and Vanessa Denha Garmo and Dora Ibrahim, we interviewed different guests. We interviewed Ikhlas Beshi about mental health during the COVID and after COVID, and it was a beautiful episode. So I'll post that YouTube link in this chat, and as well as on the Chaldean Moms page, because it's only a 45-minute episode, and we hit a lot of really, really good points about mental health for yourself, or maybe a loved one, or maybe your children. So
if anyone wants to support the church with any sort of donation, they can go to chaldeanchurch.org.
Yes.
And all their parishes are up there if they want to give one-time or recurring donation during these times. We've taken a financial hit, and like many people have. That's why we haven't pushed it that much. But if you feel so inclined.
If anyone wants to support the Miss Bahoura Fund, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Vanessa did want everyone to know
Miss
Bahoura
Bahoura
is single. Sorry.
She's Miss.
Who's Vanessa?
Yes.
She did her hair cut. Nice her hair looks.
Oh my gosh.
Blush,
We're done.
blush.
This is done,
Beautiful
guys.
and smart. She's a chip off the old block, just like her mom,
Oh,
who I went to school with.
she did just tell me that, Lisa, earlier today when I was telling her I was doing this.
I love that.
Lisa has a son. I'm just saying. Continue. Okay, so we're gonna wrap this up.
I think Alana's older though. She's older.
Not her
that
son.
makes
She's
difference,
not old.
but-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, it's fine.
Too old. Yeah. Not too old. No.
All right.
Reva, how about you?
I just want to say thank you to everybody who supported us while we're going through this. I truly miss everybody, and I cannot wait to see you guys in my store again, or in public, or to start hugging people. I really miss hugging people.
Yeah. We should do this again when everything opens back up. Like the same people. Then we could talk about what really happened at the time after.
Yeah.
I want to remind everybody too to support local businesses. I know it's easy to shop through Amazon and all the big box stores, but let's support local businesses, especially ones within our community too.
And then we can support everybody else when that happens. The big companies don't give to the leagues. They don't help Kilk. They don't help anybody else. So when you buy online, they are not helping your local community.
It's true.
Thank you, everybody, for inviting me.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you, Father
Thanks for having
Pierre,
me. God bless
Alana,
you guys.
thank you,
Everybody.
Reva,
Everybody.
Patrice. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in. And we hope to see you next time for part 2.
Bye.
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 Live streams.